A new study from the University of Calgary shows that injuries and deaths related to all-terrain vehicles will rise without Alberta's safety laws put in place. Anna Stanislaw has more.
8 people have been killed in Alberta so far and many more injured from ATV accidents. Most ATV riders will purchase safety gear but neglect to wear it.
First-time buyers, 99% of the time, always buy helmets, right? Very rarely they don't.
In Alberta, it is not mandatory to wear helmets and there is no minimum age for riders. Because of this, about 75% of ATV accidents result in brain injury.
Well, for ATV riders and anybody, safety gear is absolutely essential, especially helmets. Helmets are the only thing that can stop a traumatic brain injury from occurring during that ATV accident, and unfortunately ATV accidents are more and more common.
Lorenz says wearing a helmet, eye protection, gloves and chest gear can prevent injuries, but another important thing to remember is
common sense, right? You can't replace common sense, right? You'd be surprised how people don't have common sense, right?
The study also showed that the majority of those injured or killed were men. Gauthier adds that planning ahead can help prevent getting hurt.
To know where you're going, to have been there before you decide to head down into that field you've never been and do 120 clicks down that field, know where you're going. What you don't see is what's going to end up injuring you.
Anna Stanislaw, Newcap News.
And Lloydminster has been asking for some big-name entertainment, and today we got it. Some exciting news for the border city is the announcement of music legend Bob Dylan coming to perform. Elise Cox has more.
Bob Dylan is coming to Lloydminster August 10th.
This will be Lloydminster's biggest outdoor concert that they have ever seen. Bob Dylan is an icon in the rock industry. It is just an amazing show.
The Lloyd Exhibition Grandstand will fit 4,500 lucky fans.
We'll put 3,000 on the grandstand just behind me here, and we'll put 1,500 standing room only out in front of the stage so they can get real close and personal to Bob Dylan.
And with the furthest seat in the house 120 feet from the stage, it will be an intimate performance, and there's lots of excitement in our community.
It's good to see some older music coming back and seeing them come around again.
I think that's great. Bob Dylan is he's an icon in the music world to me. I listened to him since I was a kid.
I think it's a fabulous opportunity for Lloydminster to have Bob Dylan. He's a tremendously talented songwriter and singer, and I think that people had come from vast distances to see him in person.
Well, since our announcement this morning, we've had a lot of emails, a lot of Facebooks. People seem to be excited. We had a fella call from Grand Prairie wanting to know how to buy tickets. So the word's getting out, and people are going to be excited.
Lloydminster is currently one of only 3 cities that Bob Dylan will be performing in.
He's going to be playing a couple other smaller markets within Canada as well as Lloydminster. So we're very excited. He's one of the stops.
Tickets go on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. on Ticketmaster. Elise Cox, Newcap News.
In this week's retrospect, this week from the archives, Brian Hardy brings us the story of 2 hospitals as well as a couple high-flying, trailblazing pilots.
Mid-June 1988, and the old Lloydminster Hospital faced the wrecking ball as the new hospital celebrates its grand opening.
The wood and the concrete that enclosed Lloydminster's old hospital looked more like cardboard as a gigantic backhoe ripped apart the aging structure.
In February, the new hospital began full operations of all procedures. Today was the official opening with several representatives on hand, who joined in with the health ministers in presenting plaques commemorating the event. Although every grand opening is a special occasion, Mayor Pat Gulak said it best. It's not every day a hospital opens with the cooperation of 2 governments. Jackie Marchand, Broadcast Center News.
This week in 1989, 2 graduates of flight school were leading the way for others to follow.
The program graduates about 50 people a year to supply Canada's fighter pilot needs. However, this first group for 1989 is special. At least 2 of its members are. Captains Deanna Brasseur and Jane Foster are going to be the first women fighter pilots in the Western Alliance and perhaps the world.
The girls have done extremely well, equal to or perhaps even a little better than the average course member on this particular course.
Initially, some doubters thought women wouldn't be able to handle the physical rigors of the course. However, Jane Foster says that was no problem.
You don't need any great, humongous amounts of strength to fly. That's a fly-by-wire system.
What was a problem for the trainees was the intense nature of the course.
You put in a 10 to 12 hour day on the job, and you go home and spend another 2 or 3 hours of studying. So there's not a lot of free time.
The next few years will see Brasseur and Foster flying operational duties out of Coal Lake. And as for their futures after that time period, well, they're up in the air. David McGuinness, Broadcast Center News.
Join us next time when we take a look at the repercussions of unsafe grad parties. I'm Brian Hardy for Retrospect, this week from the archives.
Retrospect this week from the archives is brought to you by Webb's Ford. Worth your while to drive the extra mile. Webb's Ford in Vermilion.
Maple Flag is one of the busiest times for maintenance crews, with jets constantly coming and going for exercises. As Clayton Brown explains, one misstep by mechanics and technicians could be the difference between life or death for the pilots.
Fighter jets have to be able to withstand extreme amounts of force and operate properly to perform at their best. One slight malfunction can be a recipe for disaster.
In the end, there is a soul on board, at least one, if not two, and if anything goes wrong, their lives are actually in our hands as much as they are in their own. So if anything goes wrong with the aircraft, it's not only losing the asset of the aircraft, it's potentially losing a pilot's life.
There's a lot of stress on the aircraft, flying at high speeds, high G, all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of work that needs to go into the aircraft to keep them safe, to keep them able to fly every day, day in and day out. So obviously the work that they do is hugely important.
Although the room for error is small, it doesn't mean crews always get a lot of time to work on the planes, especially during Maple Flag.
A very limited time between one mission in the morning and then one mission in the afternoon. We have to make sure we turn the aircraft to get them ready and ensure that all the aircraft take off. There isn't a lot of room for allowing an aircraft not to go because it's not ready. Missions are specific. We need to have a certain number of assets in the air.
The number of hours of maintenance that go into the CF-18s is so extensive. Day and night crews are needed.
You could come in at 4 o'clock in the morning, pull all the aircraft outside, check them, make sure everything's good to go for the flight, have the flight. You're done by 2. Next crew comes in at 2 o'clock, and they work till you have your 8 or 10 jets for the next day.
At Fort Wayne Cold Lake, Clayton Brown, Newcap News.
And residents looking to get up close and personal with those fighter jets were in for a treat over the weekend. Residents from all over the Lakeland filled the Medley Terminal for Four Wings Open House. Once again, here's Clayton Brown.
It was only shortly after the gates opened, lineups began to pile up as people of all ages were eager to get a first-hand look at all the planes.
The beauty about the open house, it kind of shares exactly with the civilian community what we do here in the base, especially during Maple Flag with all the different countries participating. So this is an excellent opportunity to talk to the pilots and the air crew and find out exactly what we do here during Maple Flag exercises.
It's always great to have an event like this and get to meet some kids and the public in general and get to share a little bit of what we do every day with them. I remember going to air shows as a kid myself, and that's what got me so excited to be a pilot in the Air Force.
For Hoyes Oliver and others, today is an opportunity to experience something they may otherwise never get to.
It is pretty cool, but the jet was really cool because it looked like a giant video game. The bombs on the planes, it's very amazing, and the little machine gun over there, that's cool.
It's amazing that how big the airplanes are, and I've learned about them in science class, but I never imagined them this big.
It's not only an exciting day for families and their kids, it's a fun opportunity for pilots and their crews to put some smiles on some faces.
There's so many possibilities. They're young and they're excited about everything, right? So it's great that we can have them here and have them excited with the big airplanes and all the exciting stuff that goes along with it.
It's even a little fun for the parents.
I love coming here because I grew up far from any military bases, so it's kind of neat to come here and just see all the airplanes, and especially from different countries.
At Four Wing Cold Lake, Clayton Brown, Newcap News.
Now that open house was actually cut short just after noon. An Airbus from 8-Wing Trenton was needed for a high priority task, and in order to get the Airbus out of the area, a handful of other planes had to be moved. Officials shut down the open house for the remainder of the day. And Father's Day in the border city took to new heights thanks to the airport's Father's Day fly-in. Elise Cox has more.
Fathers were on cloud 9 as they lifted off for a sky-high Father's Day celebration.
If you're anybody like myself, I'm horrible at buying gifts, and this is a great experience. There'll be lots of great memories for years to come. There's not many people who have ever been up in some of these aircraft before, and so for a reasonable rate, you get to go have a nice flight, you get to see a little bit of the city, you get to see Bud Miller Park. It's a lot of fun.
These 4-person aircrafts got everyone anticipating their turn.
We give our airplane rides in 2 different aircraft. There's a Cessna 172 and a Piper Warrior.
And it wasn't just about a sweet ride with your dad. Fathers were, of course, feeling the love on their special day.
He's always there for us. He fishes with me. He always helps me when I need him. My dad wrestles with me.
And what could have been a scary experience for these kids was all smooth sailing with their big, strong dad. Elise Cox, Newcap News.